Pain for Purpose podcast. Excited for another episode here. Just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this and to support it. Because we're all on this journey of life together, and it's something special when we come together and help each other and gain a different perspective and just hear what's going on in other people's lives and just to share it. Thanks for taking the time. I'm excited to be back. Today's episode is going to be a good one. It's another personal story, and it's called "Are You Equipped?" and it's got a lot of great meaning to it. So, a little backstory about myself is I love to work out. I've always been physically fit, physically active, mostly the gym stuff, lifting weights, big dog stuff, right? Bench press, squats, you name it. I grew up playing sports, hockey, baseball, soccer. But yeah, after into college, out of college, it was more about looking good and feeling good, right? I used to lift heavy weights. Never really did much cardio. So that's kind of the backstory. We moved out to Hawaii. And even when I was back in Minnesota, there was a time when I was training for a triathlon. Never did it. Fear held me back there. One of my podcasts about fear is it cripples dreams, man. It cripples goals. It weighs you down. And that one, it crushed me before I even got it going. I got two in my head. But I was training. I was running. I was biking. I was swimming. I was doing everything ready or to get ready for that. Very in shape, physically fit, but didn't do it. Anyways, we moved out to Hawaii. Quickly made a friend. And he mentioned that. And he's like, bro, there's a sprint triathlon coming up. And it was about a month away. So he got me to do it. I signed up for it, and sure enough, I had to start training. I had to do cardio again, and I haven't done cardio for probably, 5 years or so, right? Like I said, I was more just about, I had a physically active job, so I really didn't have to do too much cardio. I was just more lifting weights, yoga type stuff. I started training. Doing some biking and some running, and man, I tell you, the first couple runs were brutal. My form was off, barely breathing. I was like, what am I doing? This isn't me. But as I ran a couple times, I started to get a little bit of clarity. Started to get some information downloaded. And so I fed into that. I leaned into that, and what I found out is that the more cardio I did, specifically running, just because I think I disliked it so much. Everything about running just bugs me, but the more I ran, the more vulnerable I felt. Right, I was exhausted. I was tired. My emotions were beat down, physically exhausted. I'd start to get clarity. God would speak to me. He'd give me some wisdom, put things on my heart that I wanted to dive deeper in, and so I use that as fuel. I did the first triathlon, was fantastic. Then I started training for the second one, and I really started pushing myself running, going a little bit faster, trying to pick up my pace, going a little bit further. So anyways, this is where it leads to this story. So that's a little backstory on how my cardio journey is kind of, for me now, it's therapeutic, man. It's one of my outlets. It's one of my ways that I can decompress. I know that I'm going to relieve stress, or relieve a good amount of stress. And then I'm also going to get some clarity. Usually, most of the time, there's been a couple runs where, I might not get anything, more or less just the satisfaction and the gratitude of finishing it, right? Of being able to run and just appreciating my body for what it is now. because now I'm not a marathon runner. I don't want to run a marathon. I say that, but there's part of me that deep down inside that I think I know I'm going to run a marathon one day, because that's just who I am, and I know where I'm going to progress to. Because I'm only up to about 7 miles now, but still. But anyways, so my wife was gone this past week, and I had all 3 kids at home. Yeah, and if you have kids, especially a couple of them, and the wife goes away or your spouse goes away, there's a little bit of added tension around the house, a little bit of added stress. So yeah, I knew Sunday I was either going to go to the gym or go for a run. And usually on the weekends lately, I try to do some type of cardio, whether it's biking, going for a long bike ride, or running. And so I was like, you know what, I haven't ran for a week or so. Let me get out there. And there's a little stretch over where I live. It's about 6.5 miles. And I call it the desert run because we're in Hawaii, coming out of where we live. You're running kind of on hard sand, and it's just straight sun. So the heat feels like the desert. I've never been to a true desert, but I call it my desert run because it's in the middle of the sun, and it's a stretch of rock, and it's a beautiful run, man. Beautiful run. But yeah, it was hot. It was about 85 degrees, and there's a part of me that said before I ran, it's like, you should bring a water bottle. Because the last couple times that I went that long, those were cooler days. It was in the morning, so it was only maybe 75. But part of me was like, you know what? Let's do some water today. And I didn't. I talked myself out of it. My ego took over, and I was like, nah, I don't need the water. We're going to dive deep today. We're going to go deep into a lesson today. And we're going to see what you're made of. So in a way, I was kind of manifesting what was about to happen. So yeah, I started the run, was feeling great, feeling fantastic. And I was on a good pace. I was about mile 2. Into mile 2, I was like, man, it is a hot one today. So I kind of had a feeling. Sure enough, mile 3 came on, was still good. And then in between 3 and 4, right when it really turns, the run has no shade, and it's just directly in the sun. And I don't run with a shirt on. I have a hat, sunglasses. But man, I was feeling the heat. And I was like, boy, I did not bring water. And the first word, almost instantaneously when I felt I was starting to get some heat exhaustion, was the word equipped. It was evident to me that I was not equipped for that run. I didn't bring water. That was the most simplest one. And then it kind of snowballed from there. It kind of progressed from there. It morphed into a deeper conversation with myself. And as the run progressed, it got hotter. I would force myself to run. I ended up walking, mile 3. 4 and on was very slow. Normally I've been averaging maybe just under 8.5, 9 minutes. That's my pace for a mile. This total 6.5 mile run was about 10.5 minutes. So I was dogging it those last 3 miles. And so, yeah, it started as the word equip. I've been thinking about my where I've been at lately in life. Just feeling a rut. I feel like I'm stuck just with personal development, right? I feel like there was blockage. I couldn't get to that next level. So I started thinking on it, praying on it while I was running, being vulnerable enough to just stop in the shade, cool off, letting my pride dissipate, letting my ego fall off the sweat. So yeah, I just really absorbed that moment because I knew I was in for a fight on that run. And it led me into a deeper conversation. Where it led to was I can't do it alone. So it was a beautiful conversation with myself and with God. It's a nice stretch of run where I can talk out loud. I can talk to myself. I can curse myself. I can curse God, right? I can ask him questions. But yeah, what I got out of it is that, in life, we need to be equipped with whatever we're doing. For me, in my journey where I'm at right now, it's personal development, right? I was in a rut about a month ago, a couple weeks ago. I kept reading. I journal every day. I meditate. I'm doing everything that you should be doing, right? Or that's a good practice, a good habit. And then I came across a book, an audible, and that kind of snowballed to where I am now, a couple weeks, but I was stuck. And so it was apparent that I wasn't equipped, right? I need to keep giving myself the resources, the tools to grow, to challenge myself, to get to that next level. I think where I'm at now is the point where I need a mentor, whether that's a mentor, a coach, seeking somebody else's expert opinion, right? Somebody that's been through my challenges, my struggles, that's been there before and can relate with me and try to get me to think about it in a different perspective, a different light. And that's what I crave, right? I crave perspective. I crave meaning. I crave conversation in that sense because I'm drawn towards people on a similar journey as myself. And it doesn't even have to be a similar journey, I should say, but as long as they're on a journey, just to hear their perspective and maybe how they got through a difficult moment. But yeah, I'm not equipping myself with the proper tools. I needed to rethink my journaling, my meditation, my spirituality, my devotions. Am I really utilizing all my resources, all of my equipment to get me through my challenges, right? To get me to my purpose. And then, like I said, it morphed. It got all the way to the end where it was apparent that I can't do it alone. And that was a very good moment for me because it stopped me in my tracks. I think I almost broke down crying, just probably because of heat exhaustion. I had another mile or so to go, and I was dogging it. I was like, boy, I'm not going to make this. So I prayed there. I asked for help to get me to the finish line. And then I just started thinking about that concept. I can't do it alone in my life right now, right? Like, I want to grow my spirituality. I can't do it alone, right? I'm very prideful in that sense that I've done a lot on my own. I've done a lot of personal development. And when I say on my own, it's keeping it to myself, talking with my wife, talking with just maybe my parents, just a very limited core, because I'm not 100% confident in that yet. I'm growing there. I'm getting there. And same with spirituality, same with my faith, is that I like to learn it on my own. I like to take ownership of it. But I know in this season, and that run just led up to it, I was already having the feeling that, because there was other cues in my life that a mentor or a coach or a new friendship or something like that was already nudging me, was already presenting itself. And it was beautiful, right? It's beautiful when you stop and you pay attention to the moments in life when they're speaking to you, when God's speaking to you, whatever entity it is that you believe in, whatever, spirituality or faith or whatever you want to call it, right? The universe, when it's speaking to you and you listen and you recognize it, that's beautiful. So yeah, there was a lot of synchronicities happening in my life in the last couple of weeks, where it was going. I didn't know exactly where it was going to go. I didn't know I was going to come out on that run, but it did. And so, in that run, like I said, I can't do it alone. A couple names came to mind when I was running, a couple ideas. I got a personal, I guess I'm talking on it right now, my podcast, right? I want to grow the podcast just to help more people, and I want to bring in guests. So I reached out. I put myself out there to a couple people, and we're going to see where that goes, right? I got to level up. I got to grow. In order to get there, I need to expose it, right? I need to push it out there. It's very scary. Fear almost stopped that. But like I said, having the confidence and the understanding and the respect for I can't do it alone to ask for help. And the same with my spirituality. I want to grow deeper with that. I want to find, I have a lot of questions about faith. I have a lot of questions. I've been reading the Bible more lately, and I just have a lot of questions. And I just want a different perspective. I want my questions answered in an honest and fair way without being judged and without being judged. But I want to grow it, right? But I think it's fair if you ever have questions or curiosity about anything. It doesn't have to be spirituality. It can be about your diet. It can be about personal development. It can be about mowing the lawn. Is that you seek answers, right? You seek guidance. So, yeah, like I said, when I was done running, well, first I fell on the lanai, and I just laid there for about 10 minutes and just absorbed all of what I just went through. I felt like, it was an exhausting run, and then it was also mentally taxing because it was, the heat. It was just a great run, and I look forward to the next one. The next one, I'll tell you, I'm going to be bringing some water with, though, because that was the last time I'll ever run without water, or at least anything past 3 miles. But the idea, the concept, are you equipped? Are you equipped for life? Are you equipped to reach your goals, to better yourself, to better your family, whatever it is that you're looking for in life? Are you equipped? Because I know for me, when I made the decision for self-growth, what I had to do was equip myself, right? Started reading a book, and then that turned into a podcast. It was finding those moments of pain in my life and finding the right resources to deal with those moments of pain or those pain points, and driving that for purpose, right? Driving those resources, those tools, those mentors, right? That's going to help me find my true, or I shouldn't say my true purpose. It's going to guide me. It's going to give me more clarity. Because like I said, I don't know, purpose is such a big word with a big meaning, and it really doesn't have to. That's something I've come to appreciate, that it's a little bit off topic, but part of my purpose right now is to be the best father I can be to these kids, man. This world it's heavy, it's taxing on kids, it's taxing on parents. There's just so much hate going around that it's just I want the best for my kids. We want the best for our kids. That's a different topic for a different day, but yeah, it's driving all of that. Are you equipping yourself with the proper tools to do that, right? Are you equipping yourself to handle life? Because it's not easy, right? It's not easy. So for me, I need to find a mentor. I need to find an expert, somebody I can lean into and use their expertise, use their past experiences, their ups and their downs, maybe what worked well for them, what didn't, right? Reading books is a form of mentorship. I do believe that, but I think having one-on-one contact or over the phone, or having those peers you can go to help answer those questions, that's going to equip you. That's going to give you the tools to help you level up and get to the next level. I tell you, running, it's such for me, that's equipping myself. Get a lot of clarity within that, a lot of pain, but that helps drive my purpose. And I touched on it a little before, and I'll touch on it again, spirituality, right? Faith. That's the ultimate support system, I believe, is leaning into your faith. And that can be whatever you want to believe in. For me, it's God. But having the faith to support you and knowing that you can't do it alone. And you might get there, right? You might get to where you want to go. But for me, at least, I wasn't fulfilled when I was alone. There was still a missing piece. No pun intended, but it was peace. That's what was missing. Peace and joy. So yes, you can do it alone, but it's a lot more enjoyable with others, and it's a lot more enjoyable when you have something to believe in, when you believe in a higher power that's moving all of us, because there is. Like I said, when you stop and you slow down and you look for those moments, you look for the universe talking to you, you look for God talking to you, there's synchronicities everywhere. You just got to be open to them. So, letting go and let God take control, that's one way. That is a great way, I should say. Like I said, in that run, him and I had a great conversation. I was more mad at him. I was sharing my frustrations with him just because I was stuck. I felt stuck, but it was, I think his response was the sunshine and the heat, and going, yeah, man, you can't do it alone. You need to ask help. You need to ask for help. So that's what I did. And I'm not afraid. As I've learned to grow here, I've learned, through all the courses, not all the courses. I did one course, an empowered intuition course, which, by the way, it was fantastic. What I realized in that one, and that was a great tool for me to use, my wife recommended that one, and I was a little hesitant at first because it was an all-female driven course, but I was still open to growing, and I was ready to use any tools, any resources to help me out. And so what I found out in there was vulnerability. So I feel like one of my strengths now is vulnerability, and I'm not afraid to talk open and honestly about my past failures, my what challenges me. Obviously, we're on this podcast now. I'm sharing stuff because I know it's gonna help. It helps me grow, and it's gonna help you out there to grow as well, to at least challenge yourself, to encourage yourself to maybe look at something a little bit different, right? To look at a different perspective, because life is a journey. It's a never-ending journey. I mean, one day it's gonna end, right? When our time comes. But doing it together with people who want to see you succeed and people who want to help you grow and are there to support you, that's what's beautiful. And we can only be alone for so long. That's what I got. Are you equipped? Are you equipped for life? And the last little thing I'll talk about that on too is because, throughout my journey, I have been equipped, right? I've asked for help when I needed help. But sometimes we need to stop, give ourselves grace, or reassess our situation, gain a little bit of perspective and insight in that moment of where we actually are. It wasn't until I was on that run, all this came to me and it dawned on me that, man, I've still come so far on my journey. I've grown so much. At every level, I have equipped myself with the right tools to keep me going, to keep me thinking, to shift my perspective, to level me up. And I've used others. I've asked for help with others getting there before, right? I just wasn't aware of it. It was a natural inclination for me just to seek help, right? I mentioned that empowered intuition course, right? That was a big step for me for asking for help or being open to having somebody help me, because before, as a man, I'm prideful. I can do this alone. A course with all women. Oh yeah, that's really going to help me, right? But I was done with that level of thinking, because where I was in my life, that's where it got me. And I was like, that's pointless. This is idiotic. Why would I think that way anymore? And I was open, and that leveled me up. And she's a great human being with a great perspective and a great gift. And maybe one day I'll get her on this podcast. I would love to have her share who she is, her story with the world, because she does a lot of great things, and she's going to do a lot of great things. But anyways, I had to stop. I should have stopped a little bit earlier and reassessed where I was at, recognized that even when we are on this personal development journey, even when we're on our self-growth, there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be stagnant periods where, we're just stuck, and that we can be okay with that. That's something I've realized too, is that we can be okay in those moments, because that's a moment to truly absorb what you just learned in the past week, 6 months, year, whatever it is, to sit there and reflect and maybe tweak some things and take what you've learned and how can you incorporate it and how can you tweak it into your own. So there is that beauty in that. And I'm not going to take that for granted anymore, because in those moments when it just feels, even when you just say it, even when it just feels like nothing's happening, something is happening. I think something powerful is happening, that it gets you to that next phase. It's right, like it's that moment right before growth, right? It's like nothing's happening. It makes you even doubt yourself. It makes you even think negative. But then all of a sudden, it takes one desert heat run to get you over that hump and to really get you seeing clearly again. So just continue to equip yourself, whether it's just picking up a book, an audible, starting to journal, meditate, pray, devotions, ask for help, ask a friend, ask ChatGPT, right? Like, ask anybody. I think you just need to equip yourself with the right tools and the right resources to keep you going. All it takes is a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of channeling, and you can get to where you want to go. There's no question about that. Just be intentional about it, right? Just set your intentions to equip yourself properly. I mean, I think there's beauty in that. So yeah, I guess the lesson learned from this one is bring water on a run. So next time, if you're ever in Eva Beach, Hawaii, and you see a guy on the desert run, dogging it, don't mind just tossing him a bottle of water. Because I was praying, but I took it. And yeah, I finished the run, and that's the other beauty. I didn't even touch on that. So even when you think you're stuck and you can't get anywhere, you fight and you claw and you're going to get to your finish line. It was one of my worst runs, and I literally thought I was going to keel over from a heat stroke. But when I laid there in the lanai and I was done, there was a moment of surrealness. I was like, man, that was one of the most physically challenging things I've ever done in my life, but I finished it. And same thing with personal development, self-growth. It's a journey, right? There's going to be some difficult, challenging moments that are really going to stress you and really going to push you and test you to everything that you learned. But you got to know, just keep fighting, whether it is you got to slow down and you got to walk, or you got to slow down and you just got to stop and breathe. You're going to get there. If you just keep moving forward, you're going to get to where you need to go or where to you want to go. Just remember that. You're going to get there. Man, great episode. I love talking. I love sharing my insight. I hope you guys get something from it. Even if you just take away, hey man, take water with you next time you go on a run, because that's a smart choice. So, but yeah, I hope you're having a great week, great day, great month. If you're struggling, even if you're flourishing, just continue to evaluate, reassess, and ask yourself, are you equipping yourself? Are you giving yourself the right tools and the right resources? You're at a point where you can't do it alone, then ask for help. Equip yourself with the right tools and the right resources, and then I promise you, you're going to see a lot of growth and a lot of change. So, are you equipped to improve yourself and improve your life? Till next time.